This is Gemara Metziah, Daf Lamed Tes, and we're holding on. Lamed Tes on Mad Aleph. We are 3 lines down as we quote the end of the Brisa that we learned yesterday. Tana, at the end of the 3rd line of Lamed Tes on Mad Aleph, Tana Vikulan, and all people that enter other people's fields, Shamin Lahem Ka'aris. We assess them, we evaluate them like an artist, like a sharecropper. Says the Gemara, Ahai. On what case is this referring to when it says that they are assessed like a sharecropper? If you're going to tell me Ashvuyin, if this is going in the case of the person that was captive and you go into his property, Hashtazar is this vinis charave. Now, if the Bryce already told us that when he enters someone else's field and he consumed the entire crop before he returns, he gains my dashbech, that which he made the field even better. Mi bai, is it a chiddush? Of course he gets a shear. If he was able to eat the whole crop, so of course that which is left, he's going to be assessed like a sharecropper, and he's going to get a portion. Says the Gemara, Ela Ritushim. Rather, Bryce must be referring to Ritushim types of fields. One moment, we just said a moment ago, on the bottom of Amud Beis, the top of Amud Aleph, what do we say? We said that the Ritushim types of fields, he doesn't get to keep, he gets nothing. So how could it be that we're saying that he's treated like a aris, like a sharecropper? Says the Gemara, you're right. Ela Nitushim must be according to Nitushim. Solomon, where was this working according? If this is going according to the sheet of the Rabbanon, can't be Amri, but we learned by Tzina Samiyada. Irav Shmag, Omar Shemad Netushim Shvuyin. But we learned, according to Shem Gamliel, the Netushim are like Shvuyin. And in the case of Shvuyin, we just said a moment ago, they get everything, the guy who tends to the field. So of course he'd get like an aris. So the Gemara cannot figure out when, in what scenario did the Bryce have to teach us that this person tending for this field gets the din of an aris. Explains the Gemara, you know what it must be referring to? It's referring to kishvuyin v'loi shvuyin. It's referring to Shimon Gamliel that it's at some level like shvuyin, but not completely. Dein maitzina semiyadai. It's like shvuyin that we don't remove it from him. V'loi shvuyin, why? Tilu hasam, as we learned, zariz v'nischar. We learned that if he is zariz, he's going to gain, and that he's going to be able to keep that which he got from the field, and certainly he'll get compensation for the profits. Whereas over here by Netushim, we're learning, we're going to evaluate him like an ars. So the Bryce is teaching that according to Rav Shimon Gamliel, we have these properties that were abandoned. These Netushim properties, he does not get the entire crop, but rather he only gets like an aris. Says the Gemara, why is this true? We have a Mishnah that seemingly says not this way, 15 lines down. The first word of the line is Lei Ka'aris, asks the Gemara, Umay Shana Meha. How is this any different than following Mishnah Ditinan? We learned in a Mishnah. Someone spends money on his wife's nichsei milog. If he spent a lot and he ate a little bit, kima. If he spent a little v'achal harbe, it doesn't make a difference. Masha hoitzi hoitzi, wherever he spent, Masha achal achal, and whenever he ate, he ate, and he doesn't get anything more. So ask the Gemara, in our case, it should seemingly, we would think, should be the same thing, that according to Rav Shimon Gamliel, these Netushim properties, we should say, what you got, you got. What you didn't get, and move on in life. Why are we saying that you get like an aris? Explains the Gemara, haloi damyam el alaha. We compare these Netushim like the following, the Tanat. It's like not like one's regular wife's nechse malug, but rather says the Gemara. It's like one's wife who's a katana. Just really, there's one Rashi we should have seen a minute ago. I apologize. Look across at Rashi. Rashi says, Nechse Ishtoi. Rashi explains what was the Havamina. It was like the Nechse Malog because it's the same type of design, which is that you get the payrice. Shuach al payrice, where she keeps the karen. So we thought over here, the person working in these nechasim, these properties, these netushim properties, we thought it's the same thing, that he gets the payrice and the karen stays. But now answers the Gemara, it's not true. It's only comparable to the following case. It's only comparable to a case when one is spending for his wife who is a kitana, and the halacha is it's like spending in someone else's property. So Alma, what do we see? And what do you mean it's like spending in someone else's property? That he gets paid back like an aris, as Rashi speaks out, that if he spends and he doesn't need a lot, we evaluated him ke aris, like an aris. So says the Gemara, therefore, the reason is that since he is not Saimich Das, that he's going to get to keep this property. Therefore, we made it takana because we want him to work the field. We want him to better the property. So he's going to get paid back like in our case, in our case, so that the field does not get ruined. And that's the reason why he's going to get paid back like an aris. So part A of the story, we move into the end of the brisa that said the kulan shamin lehen karis, that in all the cases referring to all the different times that one enters into someone else's field in order to work the field while they are not there, the captive, etc., we evaluate them like an aris. Says the Gemara, there's an obvious extra word over here. What's this vikulan? Vikulan lasuye mai. What is this referring to? Lasuye hada amar Rav Nachman amar Shmuel. Shavoy shenishba. A captive that was taken captive by Ridin Kar of the Nechasav. Bezdin puts down a relative into his property. Yotzal adas. However, if that person left if someone left his own property willingly, not that he was captive, then Ein Ma'ridin Kar of the Nechasav. Bezdin does not put someone into his property. Rav Nachman Didei Amar, and says Rav Nachman, Bayreach Hareu Kishavui. Even one who runs away is like a shavui. That is the extra vikulan in the brisa, is including this case of a bayreach. One who runs away gets a similar din, that the person who comes into his property will be compensated like an aris. Says the Gemara, let's understand, what is this case? Bayreach machmas mai. Why is the guy running away? If you're going to tell me machmas cargo due to the taxes, hainu das, that's a case that he's just running away on his own. So what are the two cases in the brisa? That is a case. Excuse me. So what's the reason that Bezdin would appoint someone to go into his field? He didn't do anything, meaning there was no reason he should have left. And on the flip side, Ella, rather, Barech Machmas Baradin, he left because they were trying to capture him for murder. In such a case, that's where we're going to say that we would have thought that maybe the relative is not compensated in that case, and the chiddush over here is that the relative is. Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel Shavui Shenishba V'niach Kama Liksar. If someone was captive and he left grain ready to be reaped, and of him grapes, lifsar to pick, tamarim dates ligdar to harvest, eat them olives, the limbs like to pick them. Bezdin Yardin Chasa Midin Apatropis. The kaitzer abaitzer v'kaitzer amaisik. Bezdin takes care of his field. And then Bezdin puts a relative into the field to tend to the field. Says the Gemara, why doesn't Bezdin put in Apachapas permanently, who will do all of these tasks that are necessary? and a trumpet we don't make for an adult. Why? Because the whole part of an apotropis is that you're working on behalf of Bezdin and you don't get paid. And says the Gemara, for an adult, no one would ever do that. And that's the reason why Bezdin takes matters into their own hands. And therefore, to do the basics, to maintain the first level of defense, just to pick everything that's ready and to make sure the crop isn't destroyed. That Bezdin doesn't have a trumpet to do. That they can find a volunteer to do a quick fixing of the properties. But then to go and live and take care of the property like a mensch, that they cannot do. Meaning that they have to hire someone and pay him like an ars. We continue 10 lines from the end of the Amid. The first 3 lines are Amar Ravuna. In my reading Katan Lenechse Shavoi. Continuing this theme of the properties of a Shavoi, of a captive, what do we do to his properties? Says Ravuna, we don't put down a Katan. And similarly, if there was a Katan that had fields, we also do not put a karav into his fields. Nor the relative of a relative for a katan. Explains the Gemara. Why? We don't want the katan to take care of the field because he might ruin the field. Why? We're talking about a maternal brother. Why? Because he might think he's going to get the field eventually, and therefore we have to be worried that he's going to steal the field. Because since the child doesn't know how to protest what's going on, like we just said, he'll come to Yimarsik in the field. Based on this din of Rav Huna, comes along Rava, and Rava says, Shema Mina. We could extrapolate from the words of Rav Huna, Minei Rav Huna, Ein Machzikin, Benichsei Katan. We don't allow a chazaka to be had in the properties of a katan. A chazaka being that when you live in someone else's field for 3 years, you assume ownership. Says Rava, we see from Rav Huna, from the fact that a katan does not know how to protest, we see that Vafilu Higdal on the top line of Lamitesim and Beis, even if the katan grows up within those 3 years, the living in the field of a katan is not considered a chazaka. And continues the Gemara on the top line of Lamitesim and Beis, says the Gemara, when do we say that a relative is not appointed to take care of the katan's fields? Is ba'achi da'aba, the paternal brothers, because they could claim that it's theirs due to the Yerusha. V'achi di'ima leslan ba, because they're not involved in the Yerusha. And explains the Gemara even further. V'achi da'aba nami lo yamar nela ba'arasa. Only with regard to lands, because not everyone knows what's going on, and they might just try to one day pretend like it is theirs. But houses less lamba, there's no problem. Everyone knows that it belongs to the katan, and these people will not be able to take them illegally. And furthermore, 4 lines down, and further quantifying and clarifying this din of Rav Huna, that even by land, itida is only where they didn't make a itida, which Rashi explains is a type of shtar that explains who gets what. But if there is such a shtar, then call is like there's a call. Everyone knows there was a proper shtar written who owns what. Let's just read those words in Rashi. Rashi says, and it says a shtar chalukik shachalku mitchila. Says the Gemara, this last point is not shuvlohi. Excuse me, the first point. Losh achi da'abav, losh achi di'ima, losh na'arasa, losh na'bati, losh na'avidita, losh na'loy avidita. On this whole story, loy machtinan, we never put a relative into the fields of the minor, even when it's not as large of a concern as it's not all the aforementioned cases. The halacha is we do not put a karav l'nichsei katan. We continue with the story. Ahu Safta, 10 lines down. The first one line is the Havai. There was an elderly woman, Davalei Tlasa bin Asa. She had 3 daughters. Ishtabai Iu v'chada brata. She and one of the daughters were captured. Idach Tarti bin Asa, the other 2 daughters. Shchiva, the other 2 daughters, excuse me. Idach Tarti bin Asa. Shchiva chadaminayu, one of them died. V'shavka yenuka, and left a young child as the one Yerush. So the savta, the elderly woman, the captive daughter, the deceased daughter, none of them were married. So all that's left over is the third daughter. All that's left over is the third daughter and this young boy. Amar Rabbi, hey, but what should we do? If we give all the properties to this one sister that's left, what do we have to be worried about? Maybe really in captivity, the elderly woman died. And therefore, who's Yarish this woman? The one child, the grandson. And therefore we can't give it to the remaining daughter, because that would be a case of putting a karov, a relative, into the properties of a katan. Give the field to the child. We also can't do why the opposite. Maybe the grandmother did not die, and then we're not allowed the child to go into the properties of a captive. So whichever way you look at it, the grandmother is in captivity. If she died, we can't put a relative to take care of the field of the child. And if she didn't die, we can't put the child to take field of the field of a one in captivity. So rather, Amar Abai Helk Palgam, half of the property of Lalachta we give to the sister who's still not in captivity and did not die. Another half, we put a apachapis from Bezdin to take care of the field for the child. That's how Abaye learns. Rava Amar comes like Rava, and Rava disagrees. Migu de Mekminan apachapa, says Rava. Once we're putting an apachapa lepalga for half of the field, we put an apachapa for the other half as well. So machlekes Abaye and Rava, whether half the field is going to be watched by an apachapis, which of course is a court-appointed person to work on the field, or whether it is the whole field once you do have, says Rava. At the end of the day, Lamaisa, they heard that the savta, the elderly woman, was nifter, but we don't yet know what about the daughter that was with her. So now Amar Abaye comes like Abaye and he says, you know, you should do now. Tilsa, we take 1/3. We do what with it? We give it to the sister who's not dead and not in captivity. V'tilsa, and the other third, to the child. V'tilsa, and the final third, the final third, we split in half. And danka, a sixth of it, half of that, we give la'achta to the sister who's not in captivity. Danka, and the other segment, liyanuka. Rava Amar Migu de Mukin Abichab Lidanka Mukin Abachab Leidach Danka. So we don't just make Abachabas for a 6, but rather we do it for the full third. And really, Machlekes Abaye and Rava just plays out the previous dinim, showing us at what level we would allow an Abachabas. Or do we say this Chiddush of Rava that once there's an Abachabas a part of it, we make an Abachabas on the whole thing. Says the Gemara, one more story, and we're going to call it a day. Mari bar Isik. Mari bar Isik, Asalei Acha mi Beichazai. Mari bar Isik from Beichazai came and said, an Acha, a brother, came to Mari bar Isik and said, Amrle Pa'oli Gali, give me half of my father's estate as Yerusha. Amrle, Lo Yadan Lecha. I don't know who you are. What are you talking about? Also, like Amedi Rav Chisda, Amar Lei, and Rav Chisda said to him, Shaber Kamerlach, Mari said, proper to you. So he went to Mari, Mari said, I don't know who you are. He went to Rav Chisda, and Rav Chisda said, Mari said the right thing to you. There's no reason that we're saying that he's lying. Shanamar, as the Pasuk says, V'yarker Yosef Ezecha, V'eim lo yikiru, Melamid Shazab Lechatim Azakin, Uba, B'chasim Azakin, and they didn't recognize him. So too, Mari does not recognize his own brother, because Mari saw him last without a beard, and therefore Mari is saying, there's no reason I have to give you anything. So Amar Le, Rav Chisda told the brother, Zel Aisi Sadi Dachvad, bring witnesses that you're really a brother. Amar Le, so the brother said, Isli Sadi, I have witnesses. Udechali minei, but they're afraid of Mari. They gavra alimu, because Mari is a strong man. Amar Lidei, so Rav Chisda told Mari, Zela ant aisi sadi delav achluchu. Okay, so you bring witnesses that he's not your brother. Amar Le, Tina hachi. Mari said, is that the halacha? What are you talking about? We know the classical rule is, if you want to extrapolate money from someone, you have to bring a raya. So said Mari, I don't have to bring a raya. He wants the money from me. He has to bring a raya. Amar Le, Rav Chisda said to Mari, Hachi dainina lacha. This is the din for you. This is the din. Uchol alima the chavrach, and anyone strong like you, that in a scenario that someone is afraid to bring witnesses, we flip the din, and you have to bring the witnesses. Amar Le, says Mari, said Mari in the end, the witnesses are going to come, and they're not going to testify truthfully. Why? Because again, if you're telling me that the whole story is a problem because everyone's afraid of me, so what's the difference if I bring Eidim? Either way, they're going to be afraid of me. Amar Leir Chassid says, Tarti lo yavdi. That's too far to not testify for the other guy and they're fearful of you, that they're due. But to go and proactively lie on your behalf, that Eidim won't do. L'saif, what happened? At the end of the day, witnesses came, they weren't afraid, and they testified that this guy was Mari's brother. Amar Le, so the brother says now to Rav Chisda, live like Li, Nami, let Mari give me half, mi partisa mubastina dishasel, not only of the property, of the houses, but the vineyards, the orchards. Amar Le, Rav Chisda told Mari, Shaper Kamalach, he's saying good. That if the estate gets better, then you have to split the profits. So if Chisda said to Mar, you have to even give him that. As we move over top of Mem Amud Aleph, the property is split. Amar Le Abaya, says Abaya, in the top of Mem Amud Aleph, I'm sorry, we don't have the page in front of us. Mi dami, Hasam Gedali Gabi Ketanim, Yadi. Over there, the Gedalim know that there are Ketanim who are going to split the Revach, V'kamachli, and therefore they're Meichel when they work the field and they make it better, they know they're going to have to give it away. Miyadi, Talechel. Over here, when Mari made the field better, he didn't know anything about this brother. Proof is in the pudding, this whole crazy story. So why does Mari have to give away his shear? El Galgal Milsa, this entire keeps it going back and forth. Matal Kamed Ravami now. Amr Lahu. Gedailim Mizu. I'll tell you something even greater. I'll tell you something even greater. Amru Shamalem Karis. We learned at the beginning of the daf today. We evaluate like an Aris. Hashta Didei Mari, who proved his own land. Le'avinalei. Should we not at least give him? Meaning, says Rav Ami, the opposite. Not only does Mari not have to give him that he improved the land, Mari should be compensated for taking care of the property. Like we saw Shamina and the Aris, that you get compensated for taking care of the property of someone else. So he told this back to Rav Chisda. Amar later, Rav Chisda said, "Me, Tami, Halsam Rishus Nachis." Over there, Bezdin told him to take care of the field. Over here, Mari did it on his own. And furthermore, Katanu, the brother was a Katan. Though he went back to Ravami, Amar Le, didn't tell me the whole story. The Katanu that he was a Katan, and therefore it's true, Mari does not get paid for the improvements. Whether Mari had to pay for the mashbiach, whether he had to give this long lost brother that which he improved the field, didn't seem either. But as well, he himself didn't get paid as an aris. Pick it up from the Mishnah, B'siyata Dishmaya.